Hello, my name is Mr. Witter, and I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher at Bailey Middle School. Today we're going to talk about sexual and gender-based harassment. By the end of today's lesson, students will be able to understand what sexual and gender-based harassment behavior is and identify when it happens. Students will be able to understand the consequences associated with sexual and gender-based harassment behaviors. They will also be provided with clear steps to take if they or others are being harassed based on sex or gender. Students will be encouraged to report such harassment effectively when it occurs. And finally, students will be able to identify and utilize safe strategies for bystander intervention among students, staff, and other adults. Before we get started, we need to establish some norms for today. We will be discussing sexual and gender-based harassment, and this topic is serious and sensitive, and it is possible that it may make someone uncomfortable. To ensure everyone can fully participate, please remember to use appropriate language, be respectful of others' experiences and opinions, and make only positive comments to others as they share. Take a minute to consider these two questions. What comes to mind when you think of the word harassment? What is an example of an action that may be considered harassment? The teacher could please pause this video and have students discuss the answers to these two questions. Harassment. Harassment is defined by repeatedly teasing, bothering, or annoying someone. These actions are unwanted and unwelcomed, and these actions can be verbal, written, or physical, and can also be sexual or gender-based. Gender-based harassment is defined as verbal, nonverbal, graphic, or physical aggression, intimidation, or hostile conduct based on sex, sex stereotyping, sexual orientation, or gender identity. An example of gender-based harassment can include students making comments to a female student that, quote, dresses like a boy. Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. An example can include sending or receiving a text message asking for inappropriate pictures of someone. There are 3 types of harassment: verbal, written, and physical. Verbal harassment can include comments about body parts, sexual rumors, requests for sexual favors. Written harassment can include sexual notes, sexual drawings, emails, text messages, chats, and social media posts. And physical harassment can include touching, rubbing, pulling of clothes, gestures, and grinding. Can you think of additional examples of each type of harassment? Please pause this video and discuss with your students some possible examples. Harassment is not targeted at one group. Anyone can be harassed by anyone. Boys can harass girls, girls can harass boys, girls can harass girls, and boys can harass other boys. There are consequences for harassment according to the CMS Student Code of Conduct Handbook. Rule 27 states, "A student shall not engage in unwanted verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature which may reasonably be regarded as intimidating, hostile, or offensive. This includes the communication of, by digital or other means, or the intentional display of sexually explicit material." When it has been determined that students have violated Rule 27, disciplinary consequences will be delivered as outlined in the CMS Student Code of Conduct Handbook. It's important to note that harassment is determined by the victim, not the person making the statement, action, or writing. It is important to understand everyone's boundaries are different, and we need to respect those differences. Let's take a second to look at a few examples. Scenario 1. Courtney likes Landon and feelings are not mutual. Courtney sends daily notes, text messages to Landon expressing adoration. This makes Landon uncomfortable. Landon has asked Courtney to stop sending love notes, but Courtney continues. Scenario 2. Courtney likes Landon and the feelings are mutual. Courtney sends daily notes to Landon expressing adoration. Landon enjoys receiving notes from Courtney, and Landon looks forward to Courtney's notes. Which scenario is an example of unwelcome or unwanted advances? How do you know? Please pause the video and discuss the answers with your class. So what are the appropriate steps for if you or someone you know are being harassed? Tell the person to stop the unwanted behavior. Attempt to leave or remove yourself from the situation and find a safe place. Tell a trusted adult at your school, a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, a coach. Or tell a trusted adult in your community, a parent, an adult family member, friend's parent, a troop leader, etc. Let's take a second and brainstorm. In the chat box, name possible trusted adults at school and in your community. Try to include at least 5 people, but if you can include more, that's even better. Please pause this video and discuss the results of the chat. What is a bystander? A bystander is a person who is present at an event or incident but does not take part. Why is it important to report for a peer if I witness harassment? When you're a bystander, it's important to know that by doing nothing, you are sending a message to the person who is the harasser that their behavior is acceptable. The peer may be uncomfortable reporting the harassment. You can report what you witnessed to a trusted adult and help a peer in need. You can play a part in eliminating the harassing behaviors in your school and your community. So how do we know the difference between flirting, which is welcome and wanted, and harassment, which is unwelcome and unwanted? Please take a minute to pause this video and discuss with your class examples of common flirting that you see or experience at school. So when does flirting become harassment? Flirting is defined as welcome attention. It goes both ways. It makes you feel in control, and it makes you feel good about yourself. And it is legal in school. Harassment, on the other hand, is not wanted. It's one-sided. It makes you feel put down or ugly. It makes you feel powerless. And harassment is a violation of school rules. What is sexting? Sexting is the act of sending sexually explicit messages or photos electronically, primarily between cell phones. Take a minute to think about this question. Is sexting sexual harassment? Please take a moment to pause this video and discuss with your class. What to know about sexting? Images sent by mobile phone can easily fall into the wrong hands, and once posted online may never really go away. Sexting can lead to public humiliation, cyberbullying, and/or sexual harassment, and assault. Others may copy and post your images in other places where friends, parents, and teachers can see them. It is illegal to take sexual photos of minors, and it is also a crime to pass them on. So think before you hit send. How can you prevent sexting? Think about the consequences of taking, sending, or forwarding a sexual picture. Never take images of yourself that you wouldn't want everyone to see. Before hitting send, remember that you can't control where this image may travel. If a photo arrives on your phone, do not send it to anyone else. Report any sexting you receive to an adult you trust. And talk to your friends. Sexting is against the law. So let's take a minute to review what we've learned. Harassment is to repeatedly tease, bother, or annoy someone. These actions are unwanted and unwelcomed. Gender-based harassment is verbal, nonverbal, graphic, or physical aggression, intimidation, or hostile conduct based on sex, sex stereotyping, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. Here are some steps to take if you or a peer is being harassed. Tell the person to stop the unwanted behavior. Attempt to leave or remove yourself from the situation and find a safe place. Tell a trusted adult at your school, or tell a trusted adult in your community. Reach out to a trusted adult to take action if you have a serious personal concern or a concern for a peer.